Hello guys, let us uh, we are going to discuss anthropology in this video. We are discussing topics of new chapter, that is culture, language and communication. Now what is language? Language, it's a way to communicate uh, with others, express your ideas, your emotions. Okay, and that is given by Sapir. So it is a language is a method of communicating your ideas, your emotions, your desires through the help of symbols. Is called language. We use symbols. So language, what contains language? Language consists of words, consists of sentences, and consists of syntax. So we think, we feel, we express through our language. So it is the only it is the one of the most important and characteristics, important forms of human behavior. We are behaving through language. Okay, Sapir has given a definition of language. Okay, so if we see that characteristics of the language, it has to be learned. It cannot be automatically spoken. It has to be learned first. So different culture of society have different language. So every language belongs to a certain culture. Okay, so language, it is governed by set of rules. Okay, for example, if let us take the example of sentence of a language. It contains subject, it contains object, it contains a verb. Okay, so there are certain rules through which we frame the sentences. It is a system. It consists of sounds, it consists of sentences, it consists of okay, so it is also symbolic. Okay, so it is symbolic means uh, it uses symbols. Okay, so I was discussing with you the characteristics of language. It is language, it is a system through which you express your views. So it is social, it is dynamic, it is symbolic. Okay, so it has various characteristics. Okay, so it has certain rules, it has to be learned. Okay, it is symbolic in nature. So words represents various ideas. You words, you express the ideas, you have ideas, so it expresses it symbolically. Okay, so it is a system. Language is a system, you must know it, and we have to communicate express ideas. These ideas are symbolic in nature. You have to learn your language. It is a unique system. It has sounds, it has structures, it has different things. So every language belongs to a culture. It is learned. It has follows certain rules. Okay, and it is also species specific because all species cannot speak language. It is only human beings who can communicate the language. It is also symbolic. Okay, it is also symbolic. So if we discuss about the functions, it has various functions. Okay, Roman Jacobson's explains the functions of language. Okay, so it has various functions. It uh, it has expression function, means it is used to express yourself. What you express your emotions, your feelings, your attitudes. Okay, so it has directive function. So it is has that means it is used to give directions. It is used to express expressive functions, directive functions. Okay, so it has poetic function. Okay, it is used by the poets. Okay, so it has different functions. It has expressive functions. It has directive functions. It has referential function. Okay, so it is used to convey information. So why it is used to a language is used to convey information, to express ideas, to express emotions, to express desires. It is containing. It is there are certain rules to form structures. It is specific to the culture. It is specific to the it is used for a referential function. Referential function means it is used to convey information. It has expressive function. It has positive, phytic function, directive function. Okay, so it is language. No, it's a part of the culture. Language is culture. Okay, it is uh, inseparable part of culture. Okay, so if you have to express your culture, it is expressed through the language. Okay, it has various individual aspects. It has various uh, functions. It has communication functions. Okay, so you are talking about language. So language, I told you, it is a social phenomena. It is a human, primarily human and non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions, desires. Okay, so by making use of symbols, it is a method of communicating ideas, desires. Okay, so it consists of various words, syntax. We think, we feel, we judge, we express. Okay, lot of, so it has some functions also. Okay, so uh, there are various theories that express the origin of languages, nature of languages. You must know about it. It has a nature, and what is that nature? It is explained through the theories that how the language originated. Okay, so first is gesture theory. So gesture theory says that uh, languages was originated with the help of gestures. So various uh, primates, they used gestures, and these gestures resemble with the apes. The gesture of the apes resemble with the humans. Okay, so gesture is responsible for behavior. Then divine theory. So divine theory says that, as well as religions also says that, so language are having created by God. It is a divine creation. Then comes divine theory. So divine creation theory, then natural evolution theory, hypothesis, the various hypotheses. Okay, so human, when human was evolving, then developed a brain, then automatically human acquired a brain and which invented a language, a learning possible. So Max Muller also explained the various theories, imitation theories, necessity theories. Okay, so theories are very much important. So first is, so ding dong theory. So then is Bobo theory, Puh Puh hypothesis, then Tata hypothesis. And Boh Boh theory says that language was developed because primates imitate natural sounds. That is Bobo theory. Okay. So divine source theory we have discussed about. We have discussed Puh Puh theory. Means emotional expressions. Puh Puh theory means emotional expressions. So Puh Puh means when human wanted to express emotions, anger, desire, pain, pleasure, surprise. So it was explained by Puh Puh hypothesis. So first word came as a naturally, then it is it was undeveloped ideas, then led to the expression of more developed ideas, ah, wah, and emotions. That is Puh Puh hypothesis. It is about emotions. Then Bo Bo hypothesis. So Bobo hypothesis means it says that the uh, Max Muller said that Bobo hypothesis when human started imitating the sounds of birds and beasts. So he started imitating. Okay, vocabulary was developed, sounds was developed, and he started imitating the sounds of birds. Bobo hypothesis, Pooh Pooh hypothesis. Then comes Max Muller theory. So Ding Dong theory explains that how language began. Okay, so when he, uh, for example, he started naming objects and actions on the basis of sound that it gave. For example, when there was explosion of something, then he uttered boom. Okay, like when sound of thunder came, it developed word on the basis of sound, crash. So that is ding dong hypothesis. Means the words were developed, ideas were developed on the basis of sounds of explosions, actions associated with it. Then Pooh Pooh hypothesis. Pooh Pooh hypothesis when humans in its stages of evolution, when he wanted to uh, express his pain, anger, pleasure, okay. So he language was developed, leading to the development of ah, wah, okay. Pooh Pooh hypothesis, Ding Dong hypothesis, Pooh Pooh hypothesis, then Bobo hypothesis. Bobo hypothesis means human was listening to the sounds of birds and cries of beasts, and he imitated those sounds and words. Then comes other theories. Pooh Pooh hypothesis, Bobo hypothesis, gestural theory. Okay. Then comes Tata hypothesis. Tata hypothesis means humans invented the earliest words, the undeveloped idea, the undeveloped words by tongue movements. Okay. So just he, when he saw the gesture, he also movement his lips. So it was called. So this is through this the language was developed. Then he began to be audible. Then this is imitation hypothesis. Then is necessity hypothesis. So it says that warming hypothesis. So for example, he started beast. He started any wild animals. So in order to protect himself or others, he started developing sounds, and through this the vocabulary came. Okay, like he wanted to run, he wanted to help others, so he started using giving some signals. That is warning hypothesis. Then ye, yo, hey, ho means when uh, They suppose when they were moving big stone, four or five people. So moving great stone, automatically they used words. They chant something, and through this language developed. Ye, yo, he, ho hypothesis. Then is lying hypothesis. Okay. So your emotions, intentions, so our use its sound and uses make gestures. So it was developed. That is lying hypothesis. So I was actually we discussed the various characteristics of language. It is a method of communicating ideas, desires. Okay. You want to communicate your emotions. Okay. So what all we discuss about the functions of language, its origination, what are its characteristics, it is learned, it is culture specific. Okay, it has expressive function, it has directive function, it has various origins like I discussed about various theories like ding dong hypothesis, okay, then poo poo hypothesis, then ye ho ye hypothesis or ho ye ho hypothesis, lying hypothesis, okay, the various you can say various theories like humans might have tried to express imitate the sounds of the cries of birds. When he started imitating, he learned language originated. Or it might that the humans when they were pushing big stones, then they might have chant made sound and through this language emerged. There are other hypotheses that one when human want to express its emotions, its uh, desire, its pleasure, so he might have used words or he might have lip movement to imitate the gestures, and through this sounds came and he developed words and developed language. Okay. Or warning hypothesis says that when human beings were in the jungle, when he wanted to run from the animals, he might have helped others by producing some sounds, some warning signals. उसके बाद फिर वर्ड्स बन गए उससे, और उससे फिर सेंटेंसेस बन गए, और फिर लैंग्वेज का ओरिजिनेशन हो गया. सो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट हाइपोथेसिस है कि कैसे. अब डिवाइन हाइपोथेसिस थ्योरी कहती है कि लैंग्वेज जो है वो डिवाइन ओरिजिनेशन हुआ है. ओके, तो डिवाइन ओरिजिनेशन है लैंग्वेज का. ओके, देन जेस्चर्स थ्योरी. सो जेस्चर्स थ्योरीज मीन्स you know he might have developed the language from the use of gestures. Divine creation hypothesis. The natural evolution hypothesis says that when during the course of evolution, when the human evolution was going on, then it might that what had happened, it might that the brain was developed, and it invented language. So there are different hypotheses of it. Max Muller gave different hypotheses. Okay. Big Node hypothesis. When he heard thunder sound, he started naming it on the basis of sounds that it gave. Then Puh hypothesis means wanted to express pain, happiness. So it might have used initially ha ha, wah wah, then Bobo hypothesis, then Ding Dong hypothesis, then Puh hypothesis, then Bobo hypothesis, then Tata hypothesis, then warning hypothesis, yo hey ho ho hypothesis. Okay. So then lying hypothesis. Okay. So most scholars consider that these theories are not so much wrong. Okay. So once human ancestors had developed a mechanism to produce sounds and interlinking sounds and giving word to the sound, language has might have developed, evolved, and emerged. So that was something about the this origin of language hypothesis, like warning hypothesis, lying hypothesis, yo hey ho hypothesis, Tata hypothesis, bobo hypothesis, crying sounds, then puh hypothesis, then ding dong hypothesis. Okay, so puh means emotions, angers, pleasures. Ding dong means uh, imitating the words produced by the natural objects. He started naming ding dong, puh, bobo, tata, warning, yo-yo, and lying hypothesis. Okay, so let us. We have discussed the origin of language, the nature of language, the characteristics of language. You must know it. So you can. It cannot be inherited biologically. It can be transmitted through culture only, social interaction. It has two levels: sounds and meanings, phonemes and more phonemes, phonemes and more phonemes. Okay, so that was we discussing about the various characteristics of language, the theories of origin of language, the nature of language. What is the nature of language? So it is a means to communicate. It is very symbolic, social, and dynamic. It is a collection of symbols, sounds, words, ideas, idioms, syntax. Then we have verbal and non-verbal communication. What is verbal and non-verbal communication? Verbal communication means when you are making use of written words. When I am using written language or spoken or written language, that is called verbal language. And non-verbal language is when I'm making use of gestures, I am making use of facial expressions, I am making eye contact, postures, I'm using tone, silence. That is called non-verbal communication. So non-verbal communication is some cultural specific, often subconscious. It is subconscious. Your body show posture, your body lean, you use certain gestures, make certain facial expressions, you use different tones, and it is cultural specific, often subconscious. Whereas verbal communication means when I am speaking something, when I am writing something, that is verbal communication, and it is based on certain rules, grammars, and vocabulary. Okay, examples means body language, proxemics, paralanguage, speech, conversations, writing, speech, conversation, writing. Okay, so that is something about non-verbal and non-verbal communication. You must understand about the verbal and non-verbal communications. So we were discussing a message. Okay, so it is fast, one is slow. So informal communication, verbal, non-verbal communication, formal, informal communication, verbal communication includes formal and informal communication, non-verbal communication. Okay, we make use of body language. Okay, time, body languages, facial expressions, body movements and gestures. Okay, eye contact. Okay, distance between people, that is proxemics. Distance between people is what we call proxemics. It is non-verbal communication. Proxemics. Okay, voice quality, paralanguage means your tone. Not only what you say, but how you say it, it also matters. Touch, that is haptics. Okay, so that is called clothing and appearance. So it is not organized, and it is culture specific, it is subconscious. There are no use of words like proxemics, like paralanguage, like kinetics. Paralanguage means your quality of voice. Proxemics means difference between people. Proxemics. Paralanguage. Haptics. Touch. So that is your clothing and appearance, or also your clothing, your hair, your jewelry are part of non-verbal communication. It's a part of your non-verbal communication. So characteristics of non-verbal communication. So there are no use of words. They are culture specific. It has different meaning. Okay, it might conflict with non-verbals, unconscious, show feelings, your attitudes, your gestures. Okay, so that is about verbal and non-verbal communication. So you must understand what is social context of language use. Okay, social context of language use must understand. So language is not only ways of communication, but it is also some cultural specific. It is social phenomena. Okay, so its form, its meaning, its use vary with uh, according to the social context, according to the culture. Okay, so how the study of how language functions, how language is used in social settings form the core of social linguistic code switching, language and identity, ethnography of communication, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So it is usually embedded in social context, cultural context, means its meaning, its form change from culture to culture. So how and why language varies across social groups. So code switching, identity expression. So Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, it highlights that language and thoughts are interdependent, each shaping the other. Your power of language, its dynamism, its social, its symbolic power of language. So language, social context of language. Okay. So Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So it was proposed by Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf. It is also called language relativity. So core idea is the structure of language influences or determines how speakers think and perceive the world. So the language, the structure of language is determined by how speakers speak and thought and perceives the world. That is, it has two versions. Okay. Language determinism means language determines thoughts. It's strong version. Then linguistic relativity means language influences thoughts. Okay. So Eskimos language have different words for snow. How they perceive the environment. What is their perception? So that is determined by language. That is, they use different words, snow, for different words for snow. It it shapes thoughts, and thoughts shapes worldview. It reflects cultural priorities. Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, linguistic relativity. That is linguistic relativity. That is very much important. So that is Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. That is linguistic relativity. It was proposed by Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf. Then ethnography of communication. It was developed by Del Hymes. So how to study language in its social and cultural context. How people communicate in different settings. How and why people use in a language in a specific ways. So it connects language to culture, social values, social behavior. So key components, speaking model, that is scene, then participants, then ends means purpose and goal, act sequence means order of events, key means tone, instrumentalities means speech styles, norms means rules, G means genre means types of speech event. You are joking, your interview or sermon. So that is ethnography of communication. Then comes language and identity. So language is a use to social identification, your regional identification, your ethnic identity, regional identity, whether you are British or American English, ethnic identity. Okay, social class. So variations in vocabulary often relates with socioeconomic status, gender identity. Okay, so it also gives whether male is speaking and female is speaking. Linguistic identity. The way individuals choose and use languages expresses who they are and how they wish to be perceived. Linguistic identity. That is language and identity. Then ethnography of communication. Then code switching. What is that code switching? That is very much important. Code switching means the practice of, uh, for example, bilingual speaker speaks Hindi and English both. ये for example ये movie तो good थी, so that is called code switching. So the practice of speaking different languages at a time in a single conversation. So it expresses your identity, it expresses your gender identity, it expresses to your social identity, it expresses to your ethnic identity, regional identity, ethnic identity. Okay. Social class identity. It express about social inequalities, the words used, socioeconomic status, gender inequality, gender identity, socioeconomic identity, linguistic identity. So, language and identity, code switching, switching between intersentential, intrasentential, tag switching, okay, tag switching. So, sociolinguistic, it is the study of the relationship between language and society. How social structure, how the various social institutions, marriage, family, religion, political institution, how they influence language, how society influences language, and how language reflects social identity. Okay, that is social linguistic. You must understand about it. Then, then code switching, then language and identity, then ethnography of communications, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Okay, so that is very much important. Social context of language use. So you are not expressing your social status, expressing your identity, expressing your ethnicity, expressing your regional identity, ideas, sharing views, emotions. It it varies according to the social context. That is social linguistic. Then language and identity, then code switching, then ethnography of communication, then so Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, that is linguistic relativity, given by Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf. How language determines thought, that is language determination, which is a strong hypothesis, and language relativity, it is a weak thought, it is a weak version. Language influences thought, language determines thought, means the structure of a language is determined by how you perceive the world, how you ideas you about the world, how your thoughts about the world, thinks and speaks, perceive the world, thinks and perceive about the world. So language shapes your worldview and cognition. It shapes that. There is a lot of resemblances in language. It's very important concepts. You must understand. Ethnography of communication developed by Delheims. How you want to study the culture within culture and social context. Okay. So it goes beyond grammar to analyze speech events, how people communicate in different settings. That key components are speaker, that is site, setting, scene, participants, E, ends, A, act, key, instrumentalities and norms, and genre. So social context of language use, it's very classic topic. Okay, so I was discussing about how the language, there is a relation between the structure and the language, how you are using different languages of different languages or dialects in conversation. It examines speech events in their cultural context. Language influences thought and perception of reality. That is something about social context of language use. So we are talking about Dalheim's. Okay, so we are talking about nature of region of language, expressing how to express ourselves, how to believe in others, how to explain our things, ideas, and what are its characteristics, its nature. It is a social, it is dynamic, and its characteristics, it is directional function. It has expression function. Okay. It determines thoughts, a pair of hypotheses. Verbal and non-verbal communication. We make use of speech, spoken and written language. It is organized. It is non-verbal communication is not organized. It makes use of gestures. It makes use of para language. It makes use of proxemics. Okay. What are verbal and non? It is organized. It is time consuming. One is not time consuming. Verbal and non-verbal communication. Yes, very important topic. Then, what are its nature of language? What is language? Okay, it is a method of communicating your ideas. It is specific to culture. It is dynamic. It is culture specific. It is makes a perception about the world. You express. We discuss about the various origin of theories. That is Poe hypothesis, Tata hypothesis, then divine theory, then natural evolution theory, then Poe hypothesis, Ding Dong hypothesis. हाउ लैंग्वेज वाज, कैसे लैंग्वेज का उत्पन्न हो गया होगा. अब जैसे एंशियंट टाइम्स में बड़े से पत्थर को मूव करने के लिए 8 से 10 लोग उसको जब पुश करते थे तो वो साउंड्स निकालते होंगे, वो चैंट करते होंगे कुछ, उससे क्या हुआ, साउंड्स बन गए और साउंड से सेंटेंसेस बनाए गए, बन गए होंगे और उसके बाद लैंग्वेज का ओरिजिनेशन हो गया होगा. अब एक और हाइपोथेसिस कहता है कि लैंग्वेज का ओरिजिनेशन कैसे हुआ होगा कि जो बर्ड्स हैं, बीस्ट्स हैं, उनकी आवाजों को इमिटेट करता होगा ह्यूमन एंसेस्टर्स, तो उससे वर्ड्स का ओरिजिनेशन हुआ, लैंग्वेज का ओरिजिनेशन हो गया. और कि कहना होगा कि लिप्स जब वो जेस्चर्स मूवमेंट देखता होगा तो उससे वो लिप मूवमेंट्स करता होगा, तो लिप मूवमेंट्स करने से साउंड्स प्रोड्यूस होते होंगे और इससे लैंग्वेज का ओरिजिनेशन हो गया. वार्निंग हाइपोथेसिस की अगर कहीं शिकार में करने के लिए जा रहे हैं तो सामने से कोई अगर एक एनिमल्स दिखता है तो उससे अपने बाकियों को अलर्ट करने के लिए वहां से उसने कोई साउंड निकाली होगी, कोई आवाज निकाली होगी, उससे क्या हुआ होगा, साउंड्स का ओरिजिनेशन इन्वेंशन हुआ और उसके बाद क्या हुआ, लैंग्वेज का इन्वेंशन हो गया, ओरिजिनेशन हो गया लैंग्वेज का. ये डिफरेंट थ्योरीज है लैंग्वेजेस की. ओके. तो सोशल कॉन्टेक्स्ट हमने देखा कि किस तरह से सोशल सेटिंग्स में, कल्चरल सेटिंग्स में लैंग्वेजेस चेंज हो जाती है, परसेप्शन का काम करती है, हाउ टू परसीव अबाउट द वर्ल्ड, कैसे परसेप्शन बनती है, कैसे परसेप्शन हो जाती है, कैसे आप एक आइडेंटिटी का काम करता है लैंग्वेज, लैंग्वेज एंड आइडेंटिटी. सपीर वोफ हाइपोथेसिस, लैंग्वेज आपके थॉट्स को एक्सप्रेस करता है. सपीर वोफ हाइपोथेसिस के जरिए हम एक्सप्लेन करेंगे लैंग्वेज डिटर्मिनेशन एंड लैंग्वेज रिलेटिविटी. ओके. बेंजामिन सपीर और वॉफ ने हाइपोथेसिस दिया था. ओके. देन डिफरेंट, इसके अलावा और भी लैंग्वेजेस के कॉन्टेक्स्ट हैं डिफरेंट, जैसे डेलहाइम्स ने किया था. कोड स्विचिंग है, जब हम डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस को यूज करते हैं तो दैट इज कॉल्ड कोड स्विचिंग. इंटर सेंटेंशियल, इंट्रा सेंटेंशियल, ethnography of communication given by Delheim's Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, social-linguistic, that is how language and society are related to belongs, which is, it expresses about social inequalities, it expresses the social class, it expresses the ethnic identity, it expresses the gender identity, different things used to express the different identities. That is very much important. So let us, so this was all about culture, language, and communication. So we discussed about communication, we discussed about language, and we have discussed about the culture, social context of language use. Then next chapter is chapter number 8, research methods in anthropology. So let us discuss about research methods in anthropology. So first of all, I will explain to you about techniques, methods, and methodology. What is a techniques? So when I am taking your interview, that is a technique. It means specific, I am making use of specific tools and specific procedures. That is called technique. Making use of specific tools or procedures is called technique. Then method. It means a way, systematic way of collecting. Technique is about tools. Method is about way of collecting data, analyzing data, that participant observation, survey. Technique interview schedule, mapping. Then methodology means theoretical frame. Why certain methods were used? Theoretical framework about how about the type of methods to be used in collecting and analyzing the data, guiding the application and choice of methods, that is called methodology. So it is very much important to understand the differentiation of techniques, technology, and methodology. So technique means, when I'm saying technique, I'm saying that use of various tools like interview schedule. It's a tool or procedure. When I say methods, methods means a specific way of collecting and analyzing data. For example, interview method. For example, participation observation method. Okay, then methodology means it is a theoretical framework that gives an idea about which method is to be chosen, which method is to be adopted and not adopted. It guides the choice and methods of collection the data, explain why certain methods were used. So that is the basic idea that you must know about uh, the differentiation between about uh, techniques, methods, and methodology. So when I say methods, it means survey is a method, interview is a method, participants is a method, diary study is a method. Methodology is a basically a framework. Okay, for example, participatory methodology, phenomenology, ethnomethodology. Okay, so that is methods and methodology. You must understand about the difference between methods, methodology, that is very much required by you to understand the distinguish between methods, methodology, and techniques. So, you know, when we are doing some anthropology research, researcher has to make use of certain methods, methodology, and techniques. So One is theoretical framework, one is practical tools in anthropological research and in the social sciences generally. So it's a specific tool or procedure or skill to carry out research method or to collect data. Okay. So using an interview schedule, for example, photography technique, video recording, audio recording, video recording, note taking, genealogical charting. Okay. Is the how of doing research. The actual instrument or operation used means actual instrument or operation used, the tool used, the skill used, the procedure used, and method is a systematic way of organizing, analyzing, and interpreting data to answer research questions. It is a broader than a technique. Combines several techniques under one approach. That is methods. Participant observation, interview method, survey method, case study method, comparative method. Okay. Methodology, it is a theoretical and philosophical framework which guides the choice, application, evaluation of methodology and methods and techniques. It answers why. Okay. Choosing a qualitative methodology, choosing a quantitative methodology, mixed method is the why of research. Okay. So, how is data collected? That is make use of technique. What approach is used to collect data? That is methods. Methodology, theoretical framework or philosophy. Why are these methods chosen? Methodology. What approach is used to collect the data? How is data collected? You must understand. When we talk of technique, it means tool. When we talk of methods, it means procedure. When we talk of methodology, it means philosophy or framework. That is, you must know the understand between methods, techniques, methods, and methodology. You must understand it. What is the difference between methods, techniques, and methodology? So now what is fieldwork? So fieldwork is central to anthropology. It lays the foundation of the discipline. Okay. So it is very important to socio-cultural anthropologist, the physical anthropologist, the archaeological anthropologist. Okay. So anthropologists depend on fieldwork to get uh, to gathering valid data. So field work is similar to the laboratory for the scientist. It is similar to the laboratory for the scientist. Just like we have field work, just like scientists do lab work, we do field work. So field work is the study of people and their culture in their natural habitat. Like scientists who observe the phenomena in different experimental condition, anthropologists observe the people and their culture and different social and cultural settings. So societies like a ready-made lab for the social scientists. In the beginning time depends upon writings, travelers, missionaries, administrators, depending upon accounts written by. And the anthropologists make use of these materials to build grand theories that we discussed in yesterday in last videos. So Anthropologists started sending questionnaires, then to collect information, then started to make field visit to collect their own data. Okay, so individual field work like done by Malinowski among Trobarian Islanders, it was a landmark in fieldwork tradition in anthropology. So major anthropological fieldwork were done by the American, British, the German and the French. Can't be ignored. Okay. So let's talk about history of fieldwork in anthropology. You know about Torres Strait Expedition and expedition in British Columbia. So Torres Strait Expedition and expedition to British Columbia. Okay. So they were the two landmarks in the history of anthropology. So so Torres Strait expedition was conducted by A.C. Haddon. He was British anthropologist and zoologist. Okay. There were many members of the expedition. It was headed by A.C. Haddon, and there were some other like W.H.R. Rivers. Okay. William Doggle. Okay. To study the culture, to study the language, to study the social life, psychology, physiology of the islanders, biological data, linguistic data, ethnographic data, environment, culture, and physical characteristics. Okay. So it was shifted from armchair anthropologist to scientific fieldwork, direct observation, living among the people, team based fieldwork, systematic observation. Okay. Publication. Okay. So fieldwork as the core method of anthropology. Foundation of British social anthropology. It influenced later anthropologists like Malinowski, who developed participant observation method further. Malinowski. So Torres Strait expedition was headed by AC Haddon. So Torres Strait. It is between North Australia and Papua New Guinea. Torres Strait expedition. Torres Strait Island. Then is expedition to British Columbia. The British Columbia expedition was undertaken before the Torres Strait expedition. So to study the indigenous people of the Pacific Northeast coast of Canada, their myths, their culture, their language, their art, society, totemic system. Okay, like Kwaikutl, Haida, kinship system. So North America. So it was sea hilled out. It was influenced by Hayden and Boss. It was connected. British Columbia means northwest coast means Canada. Ethnography, linguistic study. Okay. So expedition to British Columbia, Torres Strait expedition. Okay. So it expedition was the transition from descriptive to scientific anthropology. Okay. So I just wanted to give you brief idea about As we were discussing the field work, so E.B. Tyler, let us see E.B. Tyler. It was first generation anthropologist. So his book Mexico and the Mexicans, E.B. Tyler, ancient and modern, were based on field work. His later and more famous work are authored through knowledge gathered from secondary sources. Thus, place him in the category of anthropologist. I.B. Tyler was placed in the category of armchair anthropologist. They were placed in the categories of armchair anthropologist. So, E.B. Tyler. So, E.B. Tyler, Mexico and the Mexicans, ancient and modern, were based on fieldwork, but his later works were based on secondary sources. That was he was called armchair anthropologist. Then comes L.H. Morgan. L.H. Morgan wrote a book, League of the Iroquois. He conducted his fieldwork. He studied about family, kinship, marriage among the Iroquois, a Native American tribe. League of the Iroquois. So L.H. Morgan. So France rivers Hayden visited Torres Strait in the Pacific. So France was did the fieldwork among the Eskimos in the Baffin Island, Canada. Was called the father of American anthropologist. So you have to understand, you have to study the name of the anthropologist who conducted the fieldwork, like Torres Strait Expedition. AC head on. Expedition to the British Columbia. Then E.B. Taylor. Then L.H. Morgan. Then Franz Boas did the fieldwork among the Eskimos in Baffin Island, Canada. So Boas was called the father of American anthropologist. Okay. So Boss introduced new way of he emphasized on fieldwork, cultural activism, and participant observation method. And then came Malinowski. Malinowski was a Polish anthropologist. Okay, he studied the Trobriand islanders of Papua New Guinea. Okay, so Malinowski studied the collaring practice, Argonauts of the Western Pacific. So it is the hallmark of in an ethnographic investigation. So there were other women's also, women female anthropologists, that is female anthropologists who did field work, like Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, Bose student Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, and Cora Du Bois. They were the women who did the field work. Mary Douglas, who came to the forefront doing their field work in Congo. Mary Douglas. So E.C. Parsons. Okay. So I was talking about the fieldwork traditions in anthropology. I talked about E.B. Tyler, I talked about L.H. Morgan, I talked about A.C. Haddon, Boss. Malinowski, then women anthropologists like Ruth Benedict belongs to Cultural and Personality School of Thought. Margaret Mead belongs to Culture and Personality School of Thought. Cora Dubois. Cora Dubois was a woman who did the field work. Okay. Mary Douglas also did field work. So I am talking about field work, history of field work in anthropology, like E.B. Tyler, various expeditions to British Columbia, to Torres Strait expedition, studied Eskimos of the Baffin Island, Canada, Torres Strait in the Pacific, Trobriand Islanders of Papua New Guinea, and wrote a book Argonauts of the Western Pacific. Then fieldwork tradition in India. You must talk about the fieldwork tradition in India. So, so during the British government to have study the tribes and caste of India to rule them easily. So the field work was done initially by the colonial administration in the 18th century. The various missionaries, the various who wanted to know the culture history of India, they were published in the papers, they were published in the books, like British anthropologists like W.H.R. Rivers and Radcliffe Brown came to India. Rivers studied the Toda tribe. Radcliffe Brown studied the Ongi tribe of Andaman Island. Okay. S.C. Roy is called the father of Indian anthropology. He is also regarded as first Indian anthropologist, S.C. Roy. So S.C. Roy studied about the fieldwork tradition in India. So, like S.C. Roy, Rivers studied the Toda tribe of India. Radcliffe Brown studied the Ongi tribe of India. S.C. Roy was the first Indian ethnographer. He studied the tribal people of Chotanagpur. He published Munda, Orwan, Birhor, Kharia, Bhuiyas of Odisha. S.C. Roy. S.C. Roy started an anthropological man in India to publish the research work of anthropologists. D.N. Mazumdar conducted field work among Ho tribe of Singwam. M.N. Srinivasan conducted field work Kurg for 1 year. M.N. Srinivasan studied the concept of Sanskritization. Okay. Before independence, were influenced by British anthropologists. After independence, were in contact with American anthropologists and studied about the various tribes in different parts of the country. Came in contact with Americans to study the village caste of India began. Okay, so field data was collected, analyzed to develop certain theories. American anthropologists like Maurice Opler, Oscar Lewis came to India, studied village study. Okay, D.N. Mazumdar studied village study. Chor Kai Gaon, fieldwork in Mirzapur. So, ethics about fieldwork that is very much talked by the postmodernism also. We should be inform the observants, whom we are going to study. We should remove biasness. We should make use of cultural relativism. Okay, we should take consent, taking local permission. We should protect their confidentiality. That is confidentiality, consent. utility, knowledge and transmission. Okay, so you must discuss about field work and research methods in anthropology. First, we talked about the foreigner anthropologists. Then I talked about the Indian anthropologists like S.C. Roy. Then came who studied uh, Munda, Orwan, Birhor, Kharia, Munda Ho, Birhor, Kharia, Orwan, Bhuiyas, started journal. D.N. Mazumdar studied Ho tribe. Aman Srinivasan studied Kurks. Okay. Then also Indian anthropologists were influenced by British anthropologists and also by American anthropologists. So conducted tribal studies, then also conducted these studies of village and castes. Okay, then American anthropologists like studies various things. So so field work tradition was not only limited among academic scholars only. NGOs and non-academic institutions take interest in field method to study the different aspects of rural life, tribal life in the changing context. Okay, they wanted to present the tribal problems. Okay, so to understand the development dynamics, to form the various policies, it has contemporary relevance. Okay, serious fieldwork methodology. Okay, to do participant observation as given by. So I talked about ethics in fieldwork. I talked about uh, fieldwork tradition in anthropology, important topic. Research methods in anthropology, fieldwork tradition in anthropology, women enter in male-dominated space, that is fieldwork by female anthropologists like Arath Benedict, then Margaret Mead, okay, then Cora Dubos, all belong to culture and personality school of thought. Then D.N. Mazumdar studied Ho tribe. Then Aman Srinivasan studied this books for 1 year. Then S.C. Roy studied Munda, Orwan, Bhuya, Kharia, various tribes. That was about the fieldwork tradition in anthropology. In India, you must understand about it, about fieldwork tradition. Let us add some more things towards the fieldwork. So fieldwork is the hallmark of anthropology. So Malinowski, then Franz Boas, then Margaret Mead, ठीक है, studied the culture of Samoa, culture, observe behavior, gain insider perspective, like insider perspective, amic means insider perspective, and ethic while maintaining analytical objectivity. So fieldwork tradition in anthropology, it is a hallmark of anthropology. So you have to live among the people you were studied, like Brony Malinowski, then Margaret Mead, then Franz Boas, S.C. Roy, then D.N. Mazumdar, then Aman Srinivasan. So they are the pioneers. They were the pioneers of fieldwork in anthropology. I discussed with you about Torres Strait expedition to British Columbia by A.C. Hedden, by different scholars, anthropologists. We studied about the culture, how culture progresses, how culture originates, how culture diffuse. how culture spread. What is the field work? What is field work? It is a method of collecting data by living with the people that are being studied, by talking with people, by learning their native language. Various expeditions were conducted to study the kinship, to study the culture, to study the society, the family, the adolescence, the culture, like Samoa, studied the Samoa, adolescence of Samoa, Malinowski, Margaret Mead. Then France was emphasized more on cultural relativism. Then Malinowski introduced participant observation in Trobriand Islanders. So you have to study culture holistically, observe behaviors in natural scientifics. You have to gain insider perspective while maintaining analytical objectivity while maintaining analytical objectivity. So in this things you must also study about ethic view. So how emic view means insider view. What is the perception of the subjects about the culture? How do they perceive the culture? So, what is the values? What are the meanings? What are the values uh, as understood by the community itself? So, understanding the kinship and learning the perception of the kinship about the kinship means outsiders analytical view. It means you are using analytical scientific methods, comparative frameworks, interpreting culture. Okay, like various. So, good anthropology research combines both emic and ethic approach. Okay, so emic approach gives depth and authenticity, while ethic approach gives analytical and scientific validity. Okay, that is emic and ethic approach. So emic approach helps researcher understand worldview from within the culture. Ethic approach provides analytical distance for comparison and theoretical building. Scientifically, it has to be rigorous, empathetic, and scientifically rigorous. Anthropological inquiries, empathetic and scientifically rigorous. So that was about emic and ethic approach. You must understand about it. You must learn it. What is this? What is that? So we have discussed about origin, meaning, nature, characteristics of language, social context of language use, verbal and non-verbal communication, field method, difference between methods, techniques, and methodology, and also fieldwork tradition in anthropology. We have discussed so far. We have discussed so far. Okay, then so far I have discussed with you the various emic and ethic approach, the culture movement, the cultural origination, the cultural theories, the family, the various name of anthropologists. Okay, what they have done from male anthropologist, female anthropologist, British anthropologist, American anthropologist. Okay, so let us discuss, move towards some another topic that is uh, tools of data collection. So, what are the various tools of data collection? So, we have various tools through which we collect the data, like observation, like interview, like schedule, questionnaires, live studies, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of data. Okay, so I was discussing with you I will discuss with you the various tools and techniques of data collection. Okay, so various tools like what are different techniques that analysis then presentation of data. Okay, then field work is there, participation method is there, immersive field is there, ethnographic research is there. Okay, so we are focusing on the tools of data collection. Okay, so how the what is research? For research depends upon the qualities of tools and techniques. Your aim is to get uh, reliable data about cultures and society. Observation means you are systematic watching, listening, observing of behavior in its natural setting. So there are two types of uh, you are listening, you are watching, you are recording of social behavior in natural setting. Participant observation means introduced by Malinowski. The researcher actively participates in the community itself. It helps to gain aiming view. Non-participant observation. The researcher does not engage directly in the activities being observed. It is used to maintain ethic approach. Participant observation and non-participant observation. So then second is observation, then second is interview. Interview means you are interacting, verbal interaction, where the researcher asks questions to obtain information. Like structured interview, we have there are set of questions are already fixed. Semi-structured interview means uh, questions are not predetermined. Some questions are predetermined but allows flexibility. You want to get some more details. Unstructured interview, it is like conversation, it is like exploratory, open-ended. So interview, you want to have verbal interaction. Structured interview, semi-structured interview, unstructured interview means open-ended. It's like you are want exploring something, you are conversation, it's like conversational, it's like doing conversation, simple conversation, understanding beliefs, their values, then personal experiences. Then scheduled and questions. So schedules means researcher personally fills out answers during interview. Questionnaires, though respondents fill out the answers themselves. So it is used to large scale data collection and used in statistical analysis, that is schedules and questionnaires. Then case study. You are in depth examining a single unit in depth. So purpose in depth examination of a family, of a individual, of a village or an institution. Case study to understand various change, values, process, conflicts. Uh, offers detailed and context-rich insight. The study of a single community kinship or ritual practice. Genealogy. Genealogy means it is used in kinship and family studies. Recording of kinship and descent relationship. Various tools of data collection that we are discussing over here, like discussed so far, observation, how we are watching, recording, listening to the social interaction in a natural setting. Then we have Interview method means engaging in a verbal interaction, like we have structured interview, unstructured interview, semi-structured interview. Then we have it is suitable for a verbal interaction where the researchers asks questions to obtain information. That is interview. Then we have structured interview means there are predetermined means it is determined set of questions are decided. The section of questions are decided, but there is some degree of flexibility in asking the questions. Unstructured interview means total flexibility. It is like conversation, having conversation. You want to understand values, experiences, beliefs. We talk about schedules and questionnaires. How should respondents? Here, the interview a researcher personally fills answers in questionnaires. Respondent fills out the answers themselves, used to collect qualitative data and do comparative studies and do statistical analysis. Case study. So case study, we do in-depth investigation of individual family to understand conflicts, social processes, patterns of change, cultural patterns. Okay. Then genealogy, the study of kinship patterns, the family study. Okay. So recording of kinship and descent relationship among individuals. Kinship relationship. It helps analyze the social structure, the kinship. Okay. It helps to analyze marriage patterns, inheritance, that is genealogy. Then life history means uh, insights into personality, socialization, cultural values, a personal narrative that records an individual's experiences and life trajectory within a cultural context. It means you are recording individual experiences and his life trajectory in a cultural context, that is life history. How social change affects individual, how social change affects individual. Life history means life experiences, personal life, individual experiences, its life trajectory within a cultural context. Oral history. So oral history means uh, you are studying, uh, making a study of past events as revealed by community elders or participants, used in non-literate societies. Okay, you want to collect memories of cultural traditions, that is oral history, life history, genealogy, secondary source. We have data collected from those existing records, published materials, government records, books, census data, archives, journals. Then participation method, it includes involving community members in the research process. Uh, that is social mapping, participatory rural appraisal, Okay, analyzing and interpretation systematically to draw inclusion. Once data is collected, it is analyzed, interpreted, and presented to draw meaningful conclusions. Data analysis. You are classifying the data, similar data into categories. Coding. You are assigning symbols and labels to organize data. Classification, coding, and synthesis. Okay. Then process data analysis. Process types, qualitative data. It deals with non-numerical data, themes, meaning, narratives, non-figures, percentage, statistics, qualitative data, quantitative data, interpretation. So you are using the significance of analyzed data, theoretical and cultural frameworks. So relate findings to the existing theories, anthropological literature, compare and take an its outer view. Okay, to understand human behavior in its socio-cultural context. Presentation. So formal presentation of findings. Okay, ethnographic writing, descriptive and analytical accounts of culture. Ethnographic writing, reports, case studies. You must be, it has to be clear, it has to be objective, there has to be ethical responsibility, maps, charts, photographs to enhance understanding. So tools apps to gather about first-hand data through participant and observation means transform raw data into meaningful insights. Presentation means communicating the data in the form of charts, tables, ethically and scientifically. So anthropological research is to be systematic, credible, and holistic. You have to conduct the research systematic, uh, credible, and holistic. So to gather these stages, ensure that anthropological research is systematic, credible, and holistic. Systematic, credible, and holistic. So you are talking about various tools of data collection that I have discussed with you. There are various tools like uh, oral history. You are asking an individual to explain past events orally. Memories, they discuss about their memories. Then genealogy means you are studying about family relationships, kinship relationships. Or case studies means in-depth understanding of an individual. Then we have interview method, we have observation method, we have participatory observation means you are involving the communities in the data analysis process. Okay, interviews, then case studies, oral history, genealogy. You are coding the data, classifying the data, uh, presenting the data in a systematic manner, so that anthropological research is systematic, holistic. Okay, uh, that is tools of data collection and analysis. Interpretation means you are collecting the data, uh, qualitative data, quantitative data. It includes themes, broader themes, meanings, non-qualitative data, and qualitative non-qualitative data means quantitative data includes figures, it includes frequencies, it includes uh, numerical figures. Okay, so there is classification of data. We are presenting the data. It has to be systematic. It has to be scientific. The various tools of data collection, the various methods of techniques of data collection. So their methods, the various tools, the analysis and interpretation of data, it has to be presented in a very logical manner, in a very helpful manner, in a very intuitive manner. You are asking some questions to the interview. You are getting to know about the information of the past, verbally, orally, oral history. Genealogy means you are studying the relationship, kinship relationship in the social cultural context. You are having a conversation with the participants, in-depth research of the observations. We are presenting the data, analyzing the data, and in presenting the data in a logical manner, in a good manner. Analysis, interpretation, and presentation of data. So so you are talking about analytical data, interpretation of data. So that is field work, collecting the data, asking the some information about their culture. You are asking them to participate in the data collection methods. Then you are making use of the various techniques, methods, observations, comparing the data with the anthropological theories, comparing the data with the with the various hypotheses, testing the hypotheses, and reaching to the conclusion. We are here to using various techniques, tools of data collection. I was talking with you the various techniques, methods, the methodology of data collection, methods, techniques, and tools of data collection. Methods, so tools, various tools, techniques, the observations. Okay, you are discussing about the amic perspective and the ethic perspective. You're talking about the methodology, the philosophy or rationale. So procedure, the tools and techniques, philosophy or rationale, how is data collected, must understand of it. So you are making use of participant observation. Okay, it is a systematic way of collecting and processing the data. It is like methodology I was discussing with you. It is like theoretical framework for collecting the data, and techniques are specific tools and methods. Like uh, methods means the specific way, systematic way of or processing of collecting and analyzing data. Okay, how is data collected? What process is used? And why is this method appropriate? Methodology means why is this method appropriate? And why is this method appropriate? And method means what process is used. And technique means how is data collected. So I also amic and ethic approach means amic approach is insider view. What the perception of the subjects about the culture, and an ethic approach is the rationality, the objectivity, or provides analytical distance. You can compare the comparison and theory building. It's like theory building. So that is aiming and ethic approach is very much important to understand of it. What is outsider's view, insider's view? Okay, so you can make use of cross-cultural comparison, the outsider's analytical view, ethic approach, insider's point of view. You have to make use of the balanced approach. The balanced approach. Okay, ethic approach, outsider's view, cross-cultures perspective. Amic approach, ethic approach, the insider's point of view, outsider's analytical view. So you are gaining the various insiders perspective while maintaining analytical ethic objectivity. The insider's point of view, the outsider's point of view. Okay, the various meaning of culture. We are talking about expedition to British Columbia, Torres Strait expedition, to study the culture, to study the history, to study the Samoa tribes. Okay, so various anthropological theories I have discussed with you. Coming of age in Samoa, the book, then sex and temperament in three primitive societies, their culture, the social, the economic system, the family, the tools, tradition, the religion. Okay, then E.B. Tyler, then Franz Boas. Okay, American anthropologist. Okay, so French anthropologist, British anthropologist, and American anthropologist. I discussed about like culture, language, and communication, expressing our ideas, emotions, thoughts, desires, discussing about various hypotheses, how helping in pushing the stone, they might have produced some sound, and with that the language originated. It might say that divine creation. You say it is developed the brain, then developed speech, developed speech, language, words, and बोलना शुरू कर दिया. उसके बाद अपने वर्ड्स के को कॉपी किया, अपने जो है इमोशंस, हैप्पीनेस, पेन, एंगर एक्सप्रेस किया, एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए साउंड्स प्रोड्यूस किए, साउंड से फिर वो सेंटेंसेस बने, फिर वो लैंग्वेज बन गई, है ना? तो hypothesis है, ding dong hypothesis है. You are observing means lip movement with the gestures. Gestures theory means showing gestures, showing proxemics, then showing paralanguage. That is paralanguage means uh, proxemics means distance between the people, non-verbal communication. Dress, non-verbal communication. Then verbal communication, written communication, speech communication, non-verbal communication. I talked about language. It is a I had told you about language is a method of communicating ideas, emotions, desire. Okay, so we share memories, share emotions and intentions, and it is governed by rules. It is acquired. It is not inherited. It is has to be acquired. It is expression. It has various scholarly different adwords appear as given communicating ideas. Okay, so Noam Chomsky. What Noam Chomsky said, it is language is a set of sentences. Okay, it is finite in length and constructed out of a finite set of elements. So it is consists of sentences. Sentences are consists of elements. Okay, that is adverbs appear and noun comes with definition. It is a human tool for communication. Okay, it share meaning, convey ideas, preserve culture, cultural transmission. Okay, that you must know. We have to understand interpretation, that is significance, existing theories, anthropological literature, relate findings, compare ethic and emic and ethic approach, insider and outsider perspective, identify patterns, identify functions, identify meanings, understand meanings, to understand human behavior in its socio-cultural context. You have to understand human behavior in its socio-cultural context. That is so you must understand of it. Okay, so I was discussed about amic and attic approach, how it is helpful in the study of language. Okay, so there is a relationship between linguistic and socio-cultural anthropology. Okay, so the structure and content of a language as influenced by culture. Okay, how the critically examine the how the structure and content of language are influenced by culture. So language and culture are inseparable aspects of human society. It is like how it is influenced by culture. So it is a career of culture. It encompasses the shared beliefs, the values, the customs, the behaviors. The two influence each other. There is a relationship between culture and language. That culture is learned, culture is shared, culture is passed. Okay, so influence of culture on the structure of a language. The structure of a language, grammar, syntax, phonology. Okay, classificatory system. So language classify the world in ways that reflect cultural priorities. Kinship terms. So the terminology kinship terms. Okay, language helps to determine the kinship terminologies. Language influence of culture on the context of language. Thus, okay, theoretical perspective, then we have Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Language shapes our thoughts, our perceptions. Okay, criticism of Sapir-Whorf. So it is human cognition is not entirely shaped by, or culture is not shaped by language. Okay, so people can understand the culture. People can understand the culture if they even if the language lacks specific words. So view the relationship as bidirectional. Culture and cognition influence culture and language in turns influence. Okay. So reverse influence. Language shapes culture. Okay. How culture influence language? Language is also affects cultural behavior. Okay. So culture influence language is largely valid but not absolute. Okay. So the structure and language of culture are deeply influenced by culture. How? The culture helps to uh, determine the structure of language, the sentences, the syntax, the grammars. Okay, so language is a product and produce culture produces language. How relation between human thought, society, and communication. So how they are two inseparable things. How content of culture. For example, kinship terminologies, the content of vocabulary, its way of expression, the verbal, non-verbal language. Okay, so expression is depends upon culture. So Inuit language, for example, have several words for snow. Arabic has many for camels. So proverbs, idioms, metaphors also express cultural values. Okay, so language influence thought and perception, while in stronger form, language determines thought has been criticized. So, language is not only shaped by culture but also helps shape cultural identity, social reality. Okay, so relationship is mutual. So, language reinforces, reflect, and reinforces cultural patterns. Central element in the study of human society and communication. The communication, the syntax, we have many words for snow. The content of language, the structure, the vocabulary, the words, the sentences, the grammar is culturally bound. Okay. The structure of language, it mirrors the culture bound. For example, kinship terminology differs across culture, while English use one term, uncle, whereas many indigenous languages distinguish between paternal and maternal uncles, reflecting different kinships. So, kinship are influenced by terms are influenced by culture. Okay, the structure of content, the content of language, the structure of language, the content of language. Okay, you must understand they are two inseparable terms. So, language is not only shaped by culture, but it also helps shape cultural identity and social reality. Okay, guys, so in this way, you have to answer this question. Okay, you must answer these questions in this way. So, so there is another question, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis that I've always discussed. Explain the various branches of linguistic anthropology and discuss language use in social and cultural settings. The various branches. Okay, descriptive linguistic, historical linguistics, socio-linguistic, psycho-linguistic. So there are various branches of linguistics. So it is studies the relationship between language, culture, and society. How language shapes communication. Language determine social identity, gender identity, cultural belief, power relationship. Major branches are descriptive, means the structure, the structure linguistic, structural linguistic, descriptive linguistic means the structural and form of language, that is sounds, grammars, vocabulary. It analyzes. Okay, example, France Boas and Edward Sapir studies on Native American languages. Edward Franz Boas and Edward Sapir analyzes phonetics, morphology, phonology, syntax, semantics, historical linguistics, origin and development and evolution of languages. Languages compare related languages to reconstruct proto languages and understand language families. Okay, the historical languages, comparative languages, study the nature, origin of languages. Then socio studies language in its social and cultural settings. How factors such as class, gender, age, ethnicity affect language use. Okay. Ethnography of communication. How people use language in different social cultural settings. Ethnography of communication by Del Hines. So various branches, psycho and linguistic. Relationship between language and human mind. Language acquisition, cognition and combination process. So various branches of anthropology. And language use in social and cultural settings I have discussed with you. Okay. So these were the some previous year's questions of UPSC mains and the topics of language and fieldwork tradition I have discussed with you in detail. Okay, so you must understand it. You must understand it. So, how the theoretical perspective in linguistic anthropology to explain the relationship of culture, language, and thought. So, linguistic anthropology helps to understand language, culture, and thought are interrelated. Okay, like Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, language relativist theory, like ethnography of communication, how language is used in different cultural and social contexts, Del Himes. Okay, cognitive and interaction perspective. Okay, so dynamic reciprocal relationship between language, culture, and thought. Language represents cultural values, meaning and linguistic expression, cultural and linguistically situated. Okay, so how explore reflect culture and society through its various branches descriptive, socio-linguistic, and historical. Language is not only a means of communication but it is a social action expressing identity, power, worldview. Okay, so language and culture change, it involves culture change like borrowing, contact, technology. Example, selfie net reflects cultural innovation. Language laws often parallel cultural erosion. Okay. Ethnography of communication, language and cultural meaning, language and social hierarchy, language and social identity. Okay. That you must discuss in it. Okay, guys. Then चैनल को लाइक करें, सब्सक्राइब करें और शेयर करें, guys. Bye bye, guys. Take care. So this was all about culture, language, and communication, and fieldwork tradition in anthropology. Various tools of data collection. In the next video, we will take some other topic and discuss on it in a detailed manner and in a manner. Okay, guys. Till then, bye bye. Take care.